Hey everybody, it's Deanna, and I am here with Maggie Horne today with Gannon University SBDC. And I just thought that it was really important for Maggie to come on. The reason is we are talking about this payment protection program that is going on, and I wanted someone who had some valuable information to share when it comes to that. So Maggie, thank you so much for agreeing to come on here today. I absolutely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for asking me. Pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. And I think it was Sheris who connected us for you to come on. So, Sheris, if you are watching, I just want to say thank you for that also. So we want to talk about this payment protection program. We are hearing all about it. And they've just released some more money into this. So first off, tell me, what is this payment protection program? What is it about?
It was introduced as part of the CARES Act, and it was another way that the government was hoping to step in and assist the struggle that many of the small businesses are having right now. And there are likely some businesses that would never qualify for the disaster loan just because of some of the qualifications that go with it, as well as the restrictions on the disaster loan. You know, it's specific. Think of this similar to a hurricane. That is what disaster loans are for. So they just first time ever do an economic injury disaster loan. But really what companies were struggling with were employees, right? Being able to pay their employees because many of the businesses are shut down. They were quarantined, they were mandated to shut down. And so even if in their heart of hearts, they wanted to keep their employees paid, it was going to be very difficult doing that without the generation of revenues. Also, there is a huge stress on our unemployment system right now. And so being able to provide an alternative to the unemployment, the Paycheck Protection Program allows companies to keep their employees on payroll, whether they're at the office or not, and alleviate some of that stress from the unemployment office. So it was really put in place to serve those two purposes.
So how would you know if I was working for, let's just say, a restaurant, and all this happened? Of course, restaurants closed pretty quickly. I mean, granted, they could do takeout, but as far as all the stuff that they needed, that wasn't necessary anymore. Should I apply for unemployment, or should I apply for this Paycheck Protection Program?
Yeah. The business is the one that applies for the payment protection program. So I think that this is very much a clear understanding of how employers are speaking to their employees, right? The employers, the business owners need to keep their employees aware of what they're doing so that they're not surprised when they're called and they say, their employer says, hey, we got the PPP, you're coming back to work on Monday, or we're going to start paying you on Monday, which again, the unemployment is going to be affected if they had already applied or they had been receiving it before their employer received the PPP. So which one is best for the employee is different than which one is best for the employer, right? The employer certainly will get the benefit of the PPP by establishing a better relationship with their employees, right? Because they're saying, you're valuable to us. We want to make sure that when this is over, and I promise it'll be over, it may not be as quickly as we want, but it's not going to last forever. So employee, we value you. And instead of you trying to go through all of the hoops and trying to get through unemployment, or maybe you are looking for another job, I don't want you to do that. I wanted to show your value. So I'm going to get the payment protection program and apply for it. If I'm successful, I'm bringing you right back on payroll, whether or not you're doing any work for me in the time being. Those employers that really are not positioned to get the PPP, maybe they have something that could cause the bank not to approve them for it. They should be as open with themselves as well as their employees and say, you know what, go ahead and go get on the unemployment unemployment. We hope that when we're ready to call you back, you're going to come back and we're going to be able to move on with our business. But it is, the situation is going to be different for everyone.
Right.
But it's really the employer saying, I want to keep my business as stable as possible during this chaos.
So what if I'm the employee right now,
Mhm.
right? And let's just say that my employer says the restaurant that I work for says, hey, listen, I'm going to apply for this PPP. So you're good. Should I still apply for unemployment just in case that doesn't go through?
Yes. If there is not an approval, if your employer hasn't said, we have the PPP and you're going to be paid just like you did before this started, that's totally different than, hey, I'm thinking about applying for this, because it could be 3 weeks. It could be
Right.
never, right? They might not get approved. We were very fortunate that they put more funds into this PPP program and reopened it, but there's still a finite. It's not infinite. There's a finite amount of money. And so not everyone that is applying for it is going to successfully receive it. So you as an employee, if your employer says, we're going to be doing this, go ahead and apply for unemployment, because all you need to do is let them know, you went back on the payroll, and then you're good.
So now I'm the small business owner, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I know if I'm eligible? Because you've made some comments saying, if you're approved, if you're eligible, how do I know if I should even apply for this?
Yeah. Hopefully you have a good relationship with your bank. I mean,
I do. She happens to be one of my very closest friends. So
that's perfect, right? So you could easily pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. And they would be able to guide you and say, yeah, looking at your credit, looking at your ability to read, what's going to happen within your business. And we have a really great relationship with you. We know that you've paid these things back, because if you go into default with it, if you don't follow the rules of the PPP, it doesn't get forgiven. So you would have to repay the money. So they're still looking at the same criteria, although lower. Like they're looking at a lower credit score than they would if you were just going in, 5 months ago for a line of credit. But they're still looking at the criteria because if you default, if you don't use it for what it is there for, they still have to know you're going to pay the money back. And so it's not, everybody is not going to be approved for it. So pick the phone up and talk to your bank and say, look, I'm thinking about doing this. What's the process? And based on just you knowing me and my business, what is the likelihood we will be able to be approved for this program? And is it the right program for us?
So what if you don't have a really good relationship with your bank, or are there some guidelines to know, like, what if you fit to be able to qualify for this?
Yeah, you can go, our website, we have a page for COVID-19 resources on our website. And I know there are hundreds, thousands of websites out there that have, lists about it. And on the SBA.gov website, this is a Small Business Administration program. They have the full information about these programs. So you do want to look at the fact sheets that are out there. You do want to review the uses that they are to be applied to, what you can do. 75% of the money must go to payroll for it to be considered for forgiveness. You have to be comfortable with that. And so some onus needs to go on the business owner as well to know, if this doesn't work out the way I intended, I intended to bring all my people back, it didn't happen. Okay, so I know I need to repay the money back, and I'm going to do it. So it's really knowing your comfort level at taking the money. And remember, if you're approved for it, you don't have to take it. You can say, no, I'm good. And then the money goes back in the pot, and maybe another company that can really use it would have a shot.
Yeah, and I think that's so important, because there is not a limitless amount of money in there. I think it's so important that we're just considerate of other small business owners And if you really don't need it, don't take advantage of it. I get that you can take advantage of it and that it's there, but if your business is still running smoothly and this hasn't impacted you, I don't know, do the right thing. Let somebody else really who is really struggling use it. I have another question for you, and this is a question that I've been hearing. What about independent contractors like myself, or like hairstylists or manicurists, right? Who they have their own business, but they may work in a different setting or out of their home. Some pay rent, some don't. They may not have employees. Is this something that they can also apply for?
Yes. And they do have specific rules for independent contractors and for self-employed. So there's a little bit of a different way that they calculate the amount of the loan. The bank has that information there. But yeah, you definitely can apply for it. You can also apply for the disaster loan. And believe it or not, you can apply for unemployment. So,
oh, really? Talk a little bit about that. Like,
yes.
How?
Well, they recognize this is like, I never thought in the 30 some years I've been in this crazy world that, this career life, this adult life, working in our adult world, never thought that an independent contractor is self-employed, because we don't pay unemployment taxes, right? So it was rightfully so. We shouldn't be qualifying for it. But, I run my own catering company as well. So when I'm saying
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm speaking as me as well, not just as a director, but, I was very surprised, and I would never expect it. But this was not because of your doing or something unique to you and your company that you can't generate revenue. The government said you need to shut down, you cannot operate. So by doing that, they needed to give some relief. And so they opened up unemployment to self-employed and to independent contractors. So it really is to your benefit to file for unemployment because it's there for you and you're doing it out of necessity. I'm well aware as a very small catering company. Thankfully, I'm very blessed. My son and I run the company together. Neither one of us need the revenues from that company to pay our bills. So I know how blessed we are. We are not doing anything with this relief stuff. We're not doing it. I just don't feel right about doing it. I know it's not for people like me. It's for people that really need it, that have had to lay their employees off and are needing to continue to pay their bills and stay solvent. But why not take advantage, and I'm saying that not unethically, but take advantage of the opportunity to be able to pay your bills, to be able to keep afloat. So when that curtain goes up, you're not struggling and being so stressed about trying to make money up. You feel you're at least level playing field.
So what about this disaster fund? And I forget the actual letters of it right now, but what about that? What makes this different from this Paycheck Protection Program and unemployment?
Yeah, the EIDL, it's EIDL, is how we've pronounced it, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That's the official title of it. That goes directly through the SBA. So there's no bank involved in that. So it's not open for any new application. It did receive some additional funding, but that funding is being used to try to fund as many applications as possible that are already in the queue. So they have not opened it up for new application. Now, might they? Well, yeah, anything's possible. I didn't think they were going to do unemployment for so what's different is that firstly there was this advance, so people could receive up to $10,000 regardless of whether they were approved for a loan. The loan was being used for bills that you would otherwise pay had you not been in the situation you're in. It wasn't restricted to payroll. So it had a wider variety of bills that you could pay out of that loan. And the advance would go, if you were denied, you didn't have to pay that back. So it was very attractive for just getting it. Just sometimes it's a couple $1,000s. You know, somebody just needs to pay the rent and the gas bill, and then we're good. We can hold on for a few more weeks. And so that was what was very attractive about that. The problem, because there's always going to be a problem when we push things out so quickly, you know, never done it before, and we think it's going to go smoothly. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. So originally they said the advance would be in your bank account within 3 days. Yeah, I never believed that from the beginning, because there's no way, because I think what this has done is made the government, federal government, who seems sometimes on their own island out there, right, in DC, and they recognize that small businesses are so key in the economy and the things that they do. I just didn't think they realized, honestly, the volume. They know a percentage, but how that's broken down into millions of companies. That's how many people. It was crashed. The first time they put it out, it crashed within 24 hours. The second time, it crashed within 2 days. So they took a breath and they reworked the whole system, and now it's working well. So all of that was the domino effect, right? So the 3 days turned into a week, turned into 2 weeks, there's been 3 to 4 weeks before anybody has seen even $1,000, if that's what they qualified for, was going into their bank account. We understand the frustration. We have dealt with hundreds of phone calls in the last couple of weeks. Sometimes in a day, we were getting 45, 50 calls in one day. And so totally understand the frustration. And we just some patience. Doesn't mean we're downplaying or do not feel your frustration and realize your concern, but it's a process. And just try to stay calm, and let's figure out exactly what your issue is. Because typically, if the people that are just did it and then they're waiting patiently, they're seeing something in 3 or 4 weeks. That's a long time. I know that's a long time. You have no revenue coming in. I promise you, I realize that. But they had the same result as you are, who might be panicking at week 2 and hoping for a different answer. I'm not telling you not to panic. Feelings are what they are. Nothing wrong with the way you feel. You should feel whatever you feel. But understand we're all doing the best we can to get through this. I am not the SBA, SBDC. We are not the SBA. We are a partner. So sometimes we don't have all the answers, but we're going to help you as much as we can. And everybody's different. There are people who have not filed taxes for the last 2 years, and then they are upset because they don't qualify for the program. I don't.
What are you going to do? Yeah, you can't fix that.
I can't even begin to understand how to fix that. So I guess maybe some of the lessons we learned with this is, when we talk about running our business ethically, morally, not, being, worrying about how much taxes we're paying, not hiding income on our income tax return because we don't want to pay the taxes. I'm not being critical saying this. Please don't take it anything I'm saying. These are things I've seen for 30 years. Okay. Right. People do this. I'm not being critical of you or speaking negatively or poorly of you. But this is a result of you not doing that, is why you're not going to be qualified for these programs. So crazy, right? All the way around.
Yeah. Interesting. If you guys are just joining in, I am here with Maggie Horne of Gannon University SBDC. She's answering our questions about this Paycheck Protection Program and small business loans and SBA. We're talking everything about money and your income if you are a small business owner. If you have questions, please feel free to ask. This is your opportunity to ask Maggie some questions, and she will do the best to her ability to answer them. So far, you've been rocking it out, and you've been answering all of my questions. So thank you for that, and the questions that I've been hearing, because I'm surrounded by a lot of small business owners. and I hear these questions and I don't know the answers, and I know that it's out there, but that's why I'm like, I need to have Maggie come on and talk about this so we know what to do. So I have another question for you. We hear that this payment protection program is a loan, and then we hear it's a grant, or it could be one, it could be the other. How do we know what?
Yeah. It is a loan. It is a loan, but it's a forgivable. It has the option to be forgiven. And so that's where the confusion between grant and loan comes in. Nothing that we are talking about in these programs are grants. They are not grants. Even the advance on the EIDL, that is not a grant. It's an advance. It is forgiven if you follow the rules, or even if you're denied the loan, that is when it's forgiven. So we need to, really understand the difference between, because to qualify for the PPP, to be forgiven as a loan, to be forgiven, you must qualify and provide the documentation to prove that you used the loan for what you said you needed it for. And it is Paycheck Protection. It's right in the name, right in the name. So you need to have paid payroll, okay? So if you can come and show, I paid 8 weeks of payroll out of this. I paid my rent. I paid my utilities. Those are qualified expenses. And 75% of that loan was for payroll. They will then forgive the loan. Okay, but it's still a loan. It's not a grant at all. And at the time to be forgiven, you must be able to prove that you used those funds for what it was given for.
I think that's really important, because I've heard people say that they got approved. Like, I don't know if I have to pay it back or not pay it back. And that makes sense why there's confusion, because it is a loan. Everybody has a loan right now until they say differently, and that's only after you have the ability to prove that you spent 75% of that money towards payment protection.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I get it.
And to really even, take, these kinds of crises bring out the good and the bad in everybody, right? Yeah. And I'm hoping that we get lots more good. Although I hear some bad, but that's okay, because that's what we do, right? I do this every day outside of these crises.
Right.
So, but I discourage people to think about getting it and taking it if you're really not going to use it for what it's in for, even if you look at it as cheap money, because it is cheap money. Because even if you don't get it forgiven, it's still 1% interest, right? And for 2 years. So let's say you get $50,000, you're approved for $50,000, and you're like, well, I'm not going to pay payroll, but I'm going to go build that, I don't know, buy this piece of equipment or do that, because then I can do it in 1 year, 1%, 2 years, 1%. Okay, that's not what this program is for. And when these funds are used for things like that, that gives less money available to those companies that are really trying to keep their payroll, trying to keep their employees whole. And so please really consider what you want to use this for. There are lots of other really good programs that have good terms. If you want to buy that piece of equipment, you want to do, something else. There are other programs for that. If we keep this program for for the purpose, we're going to be able to help a lot more businesses keep their employees, keep them coming, loyal to the company, because, people that don't get paid aren't too happy.
Right.
But, let's use it for what it's meant for.
So if I want to apply for this PPP, what do I do?
Hopefully you have, again, a good relationship with your bank, because the bank, and if they are an SBA lender, keep in mind that not every bank out there is an SBA lender, but the majority of them are. If you have any questions on whether your bank is an SBA lender, or if they tell you, like we have some of the savings banks don't do SBA lending. So if you have chosen to bank with a savings bank, you definitely want to make sure if they are eligible to monitor or to do the loan for you, okay, that they are qualified and a preferred lender. There is a standard application for everybody. That as well is out on our website, sbdcgannon.org, or on sba.gov. There will be a link to that application. You simply fill the application out, submit it with whatever documentation your bank is asking you for, and you go through it just like any other loan. It's just, go through the process, go through underwriting, and then the determination of approval or not. But you go to the bank for this one. It's not online. This one is through your bank.
So is there something you can do online?
That was the idol. And
the idol you can do online.
And that is not real.
Closed. It's locked down. It's done. The money's not there anymore. They're processing all the applications right now. But the PPP, you can reach out to your banker and start that process there. Anything that I may not be asking you right now that you are hearing a lot of questions when all those calls and they're calling you. You know, is there something else important that I haven't asked you yet?
Well, I think what's important is employers to know their rights as well. Even though the unemployment has made some crazy things happen, you still have the rights that you do as an employer if your employee refuses to come back to work. Okay, I promise you, there are a lot of people who are saying, I'm making more money on unemployment. I'm not going back to my job, right?
My husband and I had that conversation. We're like, we wonder how many people just won't go back because they're making more on unemployment now.
Yeah. And, you go back and forth about that, right? You cringe for a second and go, wow, this is going to create so many problems for some of these small businesses who can't afford to pay them, so this is great. It's also delay, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk, but if you are called back to work and you refuse to go back to work, you will lose your unemployment, because it doesn't matter in what circumstances we're in, the craziness of COVID or just a regular downturn, that whatever reason you've laid people off. It is still the rights. The employers still have rights. And if you are making the best effort to make the environment safe, healthy, and ready for your people to come back to work, and they're refusing to come back to work, they are refusing work. And they signed and stated that if there was valid work available or we were called back, you were getting off unemployment. Same circumstances. There are consequences to the decision. So please make that decision wisely. Employees and employers, don't forget that you have those rights.
That's good to know. Very good to know. Because I think it's going to happen. I think there are going to be some employees who make the decision not to, thinking that they're going to just ride out the wave a little bit longer on unemployment and not go back. So that's really good. So even if you are not a small business owner, but you're an employee, listen to what Maggie said, because you're going to just get yourself into more trouble financially, and then you won't have a job to go back to, or unemployment.
Right. And, and think about that for your work record too. Like I said, this is going to be over. I know it doesn't feel like it. I promise you, I haven't had a day off in 2 months. Okay. I get it. I know that it feels like it's forever, but it will end. And a lot of the decisions we are making, both as employers and employees, are going to affect us after this is over. So if you've got a track record and you're trying to get another job and they found, well, I didn't go back because I was making more money.
Yeah.
We are all in this together, honestly. If we all are honest and support each other and do what we know is the right thing to do for our employees, for our fellow business owners, for, our friends and family, making sure that we're doing this, we're going to get it out and we're going to be positive coming back out of it. When we have too much time to think, like right now, there's a lot of idleness going on. We don't keep ourselves busy. We can get into those dark thoughts. We can get into that stress, and that makes us do things often we wouldn't normally do. So it's getting sunny outside. Spring is here. We all think every winter spring's never coming, and it always does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So look at it that way. Now is a time. We are going to get through it. There's going to be bumps, probably have another recurrence of some kind of, thing happening. But if we all do the right thing, then more of us are going to benefit from it, and we're going to have a healthier economy. This money is not being grown on trees. This money that's going into these programs are tax dollars. So all the money going into these programs is taking away from other programs. So let's use these programs wisely, what they're for. Let's get everybody as healthy and neutral, better, as close to neutral, so that all of us can benefit from, in the long run.
Thank you so much. You shared so much amazing information. If somebody has additional questions, where should they turn?
Well, they are absolutely welcome to reach out to us. We're the easiest way for most people now is the internet, right? Because we're right in front of our computer, pretty much all day long. So SBDC, S as in Sam, B as in boy, D as in dog, C as in cat, Gannon, Gannon, that's all one word, at gannon.edu. At Gannon. Sorry, did I say that?
Wait, SBDC at gannon.edu?
Yes. And the other, another email, just if you want, because you can do two.
Hold on, I'm putting the ad in, okay.
No, you did. SBDC Gannon at gannon.edu.
All right, I think I did that one right.
Okay.
How many people does it take to type in an email?
Yeah. And then our website is sbdcgannon.org, O-R-G. And if you just Google Gannon's SBDC, we usually are way up at the top at Google. My staff has done a great job at, we put a lot of stuff out there. So we're right up at the top, and you're always welcome to call us, so if you want to, give our, it's 814-871-7232. Again, we're Google My Business. So if you just throw us in Google, put our name out there, you're going to find how to contact us. We have 3 offices in Western Pennsylvania, 1 in Erie, 1 in Meadville, and 1 in Sharon, Hermitage area, in Mercer County. We're here to help you out. There's a lot of confusion going on. We're not always going to have the answer you want, that maybe want to hear, but we're hoping that we can help you through this madness and get you to who can answer it if we can't.
Awesome. Maggie, thank you again for coming on. I loved talking to you. I appreciate all the valuable information that you have. Everybody who's watching, thank you guys for joining in. And if you've got questions, please feel free to reach out to Maggie or your local SBDC if you're not in the Western PA area.
Yes.
And I'm sure that they would also be more than happy to answer your questions for you. So hope everybody has a great day. And Maggie, thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great day, everybody. See ya.